What does it mean to truly redeem oneself? This question lingers in the air, heavy with the weight of a past that refuses to be forgotten. Al Capone, once the infamous kingpin of Chicago's underbelly, now drives through the bustling streets, the hum of the city a stark contrast to the echoes of his former life. As he navigates the crowded sidewalks, his eyes are drawn to an unsettling scene. A group of teenagers laughing cruelly at an old man sprawled on the pavement, the remnants of a hard life etched into his weathered face. In that moment, something stirs within Capone, a flicker of empathy perhaps, or a haunting reminder of his own struggles. Capone is not the man he once was. The years have worn away the bravado and bravura that once defined him, leaving behind a man marked by vulnerabilities and dreams of redemption. Haunted by the ghosts of his past and the lives he destroyed, he longs for a chance to reclaim his humanity. But beneath his hardened exterior lies a heart that still beats for justice, a heart that now aches for the dignity of the forgotten. The sight of the injured veteran stirs an urgency in him. It's as if the universe is nudging him toward a path he never thought he would tread. The vibrant city of Chicago, with its towering skyscrapers and bustling marketplaces, serves as both a backdrop and a battleground for Capone's internal struggle. The rich tapestry of life unfolds around him, each person a story, each moment a reminder of the choices that have shaped him. Yet amidst the chaos, he is confronted with a profound conflict. The man on the ground holds a secret that intertwines their fates, echoing Capone's own past in ways he never anticipated. As Capone steps forward to help, he feels the specter of prejudice and judgment closing in, threatening to engulf him once more. This moment of compassion becomes a catalyst for Capone's journey, pushing him to confront not just the injustices faced by the old man, but also the shadows of his own history. Can he fight for another's dignity while grappling with the remnants of his own humanity? As he delves deeper into the veteran's story, Capone realizes that this unexpected encounter may very well lead him to the redemption he seeks. A chance to rewrite his narrative, to transform from a figure of fear into a beacon of hope. As Al Capone kneels beside the old man, the weight of his past looms over him like a dark cloud. The laughter of the teenagers still rings in his ears, a cruel reminder of the judgment he has faced and the disdain that often accompanies his name. Just as he reaches out to help the veteran, a sharp voice cuts through the air. "What are you doing, Capone? You think you can just play the Good Samaritan now?" It's Joey, one of his former associates, who had always relished in their shared notoriety. Joey's sneer is both familiar and jarring, a reminder of the life Capone is trying to distance himself from. Joey represents the world Capone is attempting to escape, a world where power, intimidation, and fear reign supreme. But the moment Capone extends his hand to the old man, he feels the first tremors of resistance surge within him. He wants to help, yet the fear of being pulled back into the shadows of his past looms large. Joey's presence becomes a challenge, a taunt that forces Capone to confront the duality of his existence. Does he have the strength to defy his past and redefine himself, or will he succumb to the expectations of his former life? As Capone helps the veteran to his feet, he is met with a series of challenges that test his resolve. The old man, Tom, is reluctant to accept his help, having weathered years of betrayal and neglect. "You're just like them, aren't you? A wolf in sheep's clothing," Tom mutters, his voice raspy with distrust. Capone's heart sinks. He knows that earning trust takes time, and his past makes it that much harder. In his quest for redemption, Capone also encounters Lena, a social worker who embodies the very spirit of the change he seeks. With her fiery determination and unwavering belief in second chances, she becomes a mentor of sorts, urging him to confront not just Tom's pain, but his own. Yet Lena's commitment to social justice often clashes with Capone's violent past. Her skepticism toward him is palpable, a constant reminder that his reputation precedes him. Each interaction with her stirs a mix of admiration and frustration. Within him, he finds himself wanting to prove that he's more than just a monster. As Capone navigates this new territory, each setback feels like a personal failure, amplifying his insecurities. When Tom refuses to accept help, Capone feels the sting of rejection, a shadow of the isolation he once thrived in. Yet, with Lena's encouragement, he begins to see these obstacles as opportunities for growth. He learns to accept that redemption is not a straight path, but rather a winding road filled with missteps and lessons. With every encounter, the emotional stakes rise. Capone begins to confront his fears, the fear of being seen as a villain, the fear of vulnerability, and most hauntingly, the fear of failure. Each challenge becomes a mirror reflecting his past choices, forcing him to question the man he was and the man he aspires to be. The laughter of the teenagers still echoes, but now it serves as motivation rather than a deterrent. He is determined to rewrite his narrative, to become a source of hope rather than fear, even as he grapples with the ghosts that linger just out of reach. As Capone continues to extend his hand to Tom, a sudden commotion erupts nearby. A group of young men, visibly intoxicated and looking for trouble, approach with hostile glares. They've heard the name Capone and see an opportunity to make a name for themselves by provoking the infamous gangster. "What do you think you're doing helping that old bum?" one of them jeers, stepping forward with a menacing grin. The tension escalates, and Capone feels the weight of their judgment, a stark reminder of the reputation he can't seem to escape. Tom, sensing the danger, pushes Capone away. "You don't need to get involved. They're not worth it." Yet the fear in Tom's eyes reveals a deeper wound, one that Capone recognizes all too well. The old man's rejection stings, but it also ignites a flicker of defiance within him. He stands firm, ready to confront the aggressors, but Lena's voice suddenly cuts through the chaos. "We don't need to do this," she implores, stepping between Capone and the young men. Her fierce determination is palpable as she attempts to defuse the situation. The confrontation spirals out of control as one of the young men shoves Lena aside, pushing Capone to act instinctively. The old Capone would have retaliated with violence, but now he hesitates, caught in a tumult of emotions. In that moment of indecision, he feels the weight of his past choices crashing down on him. He sees Lena's unwavering belief in redemption and the hope she embodies for both him and Tom. Yet, just as he decides to take a stand, one of the young men pulls out a knife and the atmosphere shifts dramatically. Capone's heart races as he realizes he must protect not only himself, but also the people around him. He steps forward, hands raised, yet with a resolve that surprises even him. "This isn't the way. You want to prove something. Show that you're better than this," he shouts, the words pouring out as if they were always there, waiting for the right moment. The young men hesitate, confusion flickering across their faces. However, the moment is fleeting. Joey, lurking in the background, seizes the opportunity to undermine Capone, mocking his efforts to change. "Look at you, Capone, playing the hero while you still have blood on your hands," he taunts, igniting doubts in Capone's mind. The laughter of the past echoes again, but this time it feels more like a haunting than a taunt. Capone's internal battle intensifies, and he feels the suffocating grip of his old life pulling at him. The fear of failing in front of Lena, Tom, and even himself swells within him. He knows that if he backs down now, he risks losing everything he has fought for. Each moment of hesitation feels like a betrayal to the very change he aspires to embody. As the situation teeters on the brink of violence, Lena steps forward, her voice steady and commanding. "You're better than this, Al. "We can walk away from this together," she urges, her eyes locked onto his, conveying a belief that he struggles to accept. Her unwavering support becomes a beacon in his storm of doubt, pushing him to confront his fears head-on. In this critical moment, Capone realizes that his journey toward redemption is not merely about distancing himself from his past, but about embracing the very essence of humanity: vulnerability, compassion, and the courage to stand up for what is right. As the knife-wielding young man's grip slackens, Capone feels a crack in the facade of the hardened criminal he once was. This moment, fraught with danger and uncertainty, marks a potential turning point, a chance for him to redefine his legacy, not as a feared gangster, but as a man capable of kindness and bravery. In the charged atmosphere, as Capone stood before the knife-wielding young man, time seemed to stretch. The tension in the air crackled like static, each heartbeat echoing the weight of choices past and present. For a fleeting moment, he could see the shadow of his former self lurking behind the aggressive bravado of the young men. They were brimming with bravado, but beneath their bravado lay a stark vulnerability that mirrored his own. It was in that moment, standing with Lena and Tom, that Capone felt the profound shift within him, a transformative event that would redefine his trajectory forever. As the young man's eyes flickered with uncertainty, Capone felt a rush of clarity wash over him. He recognized that this confrontation was not just about proving himself to these youths. It was about confronting the very essence of who he had become and who he aspired to be. He could either revert to the man who thrived on fear and intimidation, or he could embrace the possibility of change, embodying the values he had long abandoned. In that split second, he chose the latter. The shock of that realization coursed through him, igniting a newfound sense of purpose. He was not just fighting for his own redemption, but for the safety and dignity of those he cared about. The knife, glinting menacingly in the dim light, became a symbol of not only the immediate danger, but also of the deeper struggles that had plagued Capone for years. The young man's grip on the weapon wavered, as if sensing the shift in the air. Capone's heart raced, but instead of fear, it was filled with inspiration, the determination to rise above the chaos and show that there was another way. He stepped closer, his voice steady, and called out, "You can be more than this. This isn't who you are." The words, steeped in his own hard-earned wisdom, hung in the air, creating a space for reflection. As the young men exchanged unsure glances, Capone realized that he had opened a window of opportunity, not just for himself, but for them as well. The possibility of a different outcome shimmered before him. Instead of violence, there was a chance for dialogue, for understanding. This moment was no longer just about survival. It was about solidarity and the potential for transformation. Each breath he took filled him with a sense of agency he hadn't felt in years. Lena's presence, unwavering and strong, bolstered his resolve. She had always believed in the power of redemption, and her faith now illuminated the path ahead. The circumstances had shifted dramatically. Capone was no longer the feared gangster of the past, but a man standing up for what was right. He could feel the weight of the choices that lay ahead, choices that would determine not only his future, but also the futures of those around him. The tension now hung thick with expectation. The knife-wielding young man hesitated, his bravado faltering under the weight of Capone's challenge. The others seemed to sense the tide turning, the air thick with the potential for change. Capone's heart raced with the knowledge that he was on the brink of a decisive confrontation, not only with the young men before him, but with the remnants of his own past. Whatever the outcome, he knew he had already taken the first step toward a new legacy, one that could redefine him in the eyes of Lena, Tom, and most importantly, himself. The stakes were high, but for the first time in a long while, Capone felt alive with purpose, ready to face whatever came next. As Capone stood his ground, The atmosphere thickened with palpable tension. The young man, still gripping the knife, with white-knuckled intensity, looked into Capone's eyes, searching for something. Approval, perhaps, or maybe an escape route. The other young men, previously brimming with bravado, now appeared uncertain, their collective energy wavering as they absorbed the weight of Capone's challenge. This was the moment that could tip the scales toward violence or lead them down a path of redemption. "Put the knife down," Capone said, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling around him. "You don't need that to prove yourself. I've lived that life, and it doesn't lead anywhere good. Trust me." The young man's grip faltered, uncertainty flickering across his face. The knife glinted ominously in the dim light, a reflection of the past Capone had fought to escape. This was his greatest challenge, not just to confront the young man, but to confront the darkness within himself that thrived on intimidation and fear. And in that instant he realized that the confrontation was as much about him as it was about the young man before him. "Do you really want to end up like me?" Capone pressed, his heart pounding with the urgency of his appeal. "A man who traded his soul for power. I've lost everything. I've hurt people I loved. This isn't the way." The young man hesitated, the knife wavering slightly. Capone took a cautious step forward, emboldened by the presence of Lena and Tom, who stood resolutely behind him, their faith in him a palpable support. He was no longer alone in this fight. Their silent solidarity fortified his resolve. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice softer now, inviting rather than confrontational. "Jake," the young man replied, confusion clouding his eyes. "Jake," Capone repeated, feeling the name resonate in the air between them. "You have a choice, just like I did. You can choose to be more than the violence, more than the fear. You can be a leader, someone people respect for who he is, not what he wields." There was a flicker of recognition in Jake's eyes, a glimpse of the possibility Capone was offering. Capone could feel the tension slowly begin to dissipate, the knife lowering as Jake wrestled with his emotions. The gang members exchanged looks, and for the first time they seemed to be questioning their own roles in this confrontation. "Think about what you want for your life," Capone urged, his voice steady but passionate. "Do you want to be remembered for fear or for bravery, for destruction or for hope?" In that moment, Jake's bravado crumbled, revealing the vulnerability beneath. As he looked around at his friends, Capone saw the shift, the realization that the path they were on was one of despair and futility. Finally, with a deep breath, Jake dropped the knife, the clatter echoing off the walls like a thunderclap of change. The tension broke, and a wave of relief washed over Capone, who felt the weight of years of regret lifting from his shoulders. This was not just a victory for the moment. It was a chance for a new beginning, not only for Jake, but for all of them. Lena stepped forward, her eyes glistening with tears of pride. "You did it," she whispered, her voice a soft affirmation of his transformation. Tom nodded in agreement, the three of them bound together in a newfound solidarity forged in the crucible of crisis. In that instant, Capone understood that the greatest challenge had not been the confrontation with the knife, but rather the confrontation with his own fears and the legacy he wanted to leave behind. The choice to guide rather than dominate had opened a door to redemption, not just for himself, but for the young men who stood before him. The streets felt different now, less a battleground and more a canvas for potential. Capone knew that healing would take time and effort, but for the first time in years, he felt hope, a flicker of light in the darkness, illuminating the path forward. As Capone watched Jake drop the knife, a wave of relief surged through him, followed by the realization of the enormity of the moment. The streets, once echoes of despair, now held whispers of hope. The young men who had surrounded them began to disperse, their bravado diminished, replaced by contemplation of their choices. Capone felt the weight of a legacy that had been heavy on his shoulders lighten. He had not only faced the darkness in Jake, but had confronted the shadows of his own past. In the days that followed, Capone noticed a shift in the neighborhood. The young men, inspired by Jake's decision, began to gather for discussions rather than confrontations. They sought mentorship, turned to Capone for guidance, and formed a community that prioritized respect over fear. Lena and Tom stood by his side, helping to foster these relationships, empowering the youth to see beyond their circumstances. This was the rebirth of a community, one built on solidarity and shared aspirations. Reflecting on these changes, Capone felt a profound sense of purpose. He recognized that his past failures were not shackles, but lessons that had shaped him. Each misstep had led him to this pivotal moment where he could help others rewrite their narratives. The friendships he had formed with Lena and Tom became the cornerstone of his newfound identity. They reminded him that healing is a collective journey, one that requires vulnerability and strength. As Capone spoke to the community about the importance of choices, he could see the impact of his words. Jake had transformed from a symbol of potential violence to a beacon of hope. Their friendship blossomed, rooted in understanding and shared experience. Jake, now a mentor in his own right, began to share his story, encouraging others to choose a different path. Together, they created programs that provided young men with opportunities to learn skills and build futures beyond the streets. In a moment of quiet reflection, Capone found himself at the very spot where they had confronted Jake. The air felt charged with a sense of justice, a divine affirmation that they were on the right path. He closed his eyes, feeling a warmth envelop him, as if the universe recognized their efforts. It was in this stillness that he realized they had not only saved Jake, but had also begun to heal the scars of the community. This was the power of transformation, and it resonated deeply within Capone. He understood that true strength lies not in domination, but in lifting others up, in forging connections that transcend fear. They had sparked a movement together, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As the sun set, casting golden hues across the neighborhood, Capone felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that the journey ahead would not be easy, but with the support of Lena, Tom, and the community, they were ready to face it together. He smiled, feeling the bonds of friendship and hope solidifying around him, a promise of a brighter future. You saw how choices can transform lives, even in situations as challenging as Jake's, Capone thought. Now, I want to hear from you. How did this journey touch your heart? Have you ever faced a moment that changed everything for you? Leave your comment below, and together we will share stories that can inspire others. If you believe this message can make a difference in someone's life, don't forget to like and share it with those who need to hear it today. Finally, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to continue following more stories like this. Your participation is what makes this space so special.